What's up, and welcome back to the Nest Podcast, episode 33, the Larry Bird episode. I'm your host, Brandon. I'm joined as always by my co host, Zach, and later on, we might have a special guest swinging through. This week, we're going to be talking about what we know best baseball and March Madness. So let's get right into it. Zach, everything is happening in baseball right now. Have you seen all the extensions that have been going out left and right?
Tons. It's like every time I turn on some kind of sports show, there's some new guy that's signed some extension.
I I shit you not. My son had my phone the other day, and when I finally got it back, I had 4 notifications of people that were in talks for extensions or did extend or whatever. And big name players, it's not just scrubs, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. For the Cardinals, the biggest one was Goldschmidt, a guy who hasn't even played a actual game yet. Just signed a 5-year extension for like 130 million or somewhere around there.
Yeah, and that's huge for you guys for your franchise going forward. You got a guy who is probably the best first baseman in all of baseball. And you got him for $200 million less than what the Phillies paid for Bryce Harper.
Yeah, yeah. That's a hell of a deal.
So that's incredible. You know, the Red Sox just today, they were able to get Chris Sale on a similar deal, like a 5-year, $150 million deal. And that's great for us because, you know, in the next few years, we're going to have a lot of guys that are free agents or whatever. So to get him out of the way now and to extend it, it'll help us going forward tremendously.
Yep, for sure. And speaking of that special guest, Justin
Yeah,
just joined us.
Justin did
Hey,
drop in. What's up, buddy?
what's happening? Hopefully my picture will stay up a little bit longer.
Yeah, we'd like to see your pretty face this time. It's been a while since we've had Justin from Into the Woods podcast on our show, so it's great to have him back. Of course, I mentioned before he came on that we were going to be talking March Madness, and he's our football and basketball expert around here, so felt only necessary to bring him in. Supposed to have you last week, but something came up, right?
Oh yeah, I was pretty down last week. I had a nasty virus going around, but I'm back at it this week, so we're
Hell
good.
yeah, hell yeah.
Nice.
But Zach, we were talking about some of the other extensions and stuff that have happened. You know, we've covered Nolan Arenado's big extension, and
Yep.
obviously we covered the 2 big free agent acquisitions. Um, but w- a lot of people have been saying that they think that the free agent system is broken and all that stuff. But all these extensions make me think it's fine.
Do they mean it's broken in terms of like these huge contracts that players are getting?
They're saying it's broken because players are waiting so long in the off season to get these big offers finally finalized. You know, and I don't blame the teams for not, you know, first thing as soon as they're available to just drop hundreds of millions of dollars in fucking November.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to happen in the off season. You don't know, you know, maybe some of your other players show more positive signs of development, and you don't want to drop, you know, that much money on a Harper or a
Yeah.
Machado or whatever. So I don't blame them for waiting.
Yeah.
See, you know, I don't think the free agent system is broken at all. Obviously, you had those 2 dudes sign humongous contracts, and then now teams are realizing that, oh shit, they're leaving for free agency to go sign mega deals. Let's lock them down on our team now.
Yeah.
It seems like the smart thing to do.
I wonder if it was maybe structured a little bit, you'd have less of this mega deal stuff. Like say instead of having to wait 7 or 8 years for arbitration,
Yeah, it's 7.
you could maybe scale that back a little bit, 4 or 5 or something.
Well,
And then that way.
Well, I misspoke. It's 4 years until you hit your first year of arbitration. Then you have 3 arbitration years before you hit free agency.
Okay, I got you. So yeah, that makes sense. If you remember, we were talking about how in football, you can get a big contract way earlier in your career. And basically you have to wait till free agency to get a big contract in baseball. Yes, in the long run, the contracts are way bigger. But I think you might avoid that if players could get a good contract when they were younger. Because I think the mindset is, I'm 27. I'm not going to be great in 10 years. Let's lock me in somewhere where I'm making a fuck ton of money. And maybe if they were making better money earlier, then they wouldn't go about that kind of route of trying to get some crazy contract and then lock up a team's cap space for 10 years or whatever.
Right. I mean, if you look at like you mentioned Goldie earlier, his situation was kind of unique because yeah, he got a 5-year, 130 million or whatever it was. Um, but he's also like 31 years old. So he's not going to get that 10-year deal that Harper got as a 26-year-old. You know, backtrack Goldschmidt's career 5 years ago, he wasn't the best first baseman in the league. No one was offering him 10-year deals.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting thing. You know, he had to develop to get to that point to where now he's in his prime for a 5-year contract. Some of these super stud athletes like your Bryce Harpers and Manny Machados and Mookie Betts and Mike Trouts, who we'll definitely get to here in a few minutes, those guys are generational talents. They're equivalent to like your LeBron James, your Michael Jordans, your, you know, potentially Zions and stuff like that are generational talents that come around every now and then. Justin's shaking his head. He's not a fan. But I mean, these guys come around every so often, and they're the ones you're like, yep, they're the ones that are going to get the mega fucking dollars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Paul Goldschmidt's a guy that had to go and grind it out to become the best player. He wasn't a phenom.
Yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned that he is, at least in your opinion, the best first baseman. Did you know that Alex Bregman is a YouTuber?
Is he?
Yeah.
He just got an extension too.
Yeah, he did. I was randomly searching YouTube videos of baseball stuff. I've been doing that a lot lately to kind of get a little bit more info into my brain. And a video of his showed up. He was just showing off like his locker or something. And he's got like regular videos of him doing like BP and whatever else. It's pretty interesting. I don't remember like the amount of subscribers he has, but that's a really interesting thing for an athlete to want to do.
Yeah, but I mean, it also makes sense because he's an entertaining person. He likes to be behind a camera or whatever, however you would say it. So it doesn't really shock me, and he seems like he has a pretty good mind for the sport and a good way of presenting it. So it might be good. And I would say he has a shit ton of followers.
Yeah, I if I remember correctly, it's around 400 500K subs. And I mean, in this day and age, most every star athlete has a big social media of some kind. So it only makes sense that a YouTube channel would catch on for an exciting athlete.
Sure. I mean, and you know, you can get easy clicks by just showing your highlight videos and stuff like that. And then people are like, oh shit, this is actually Bregman's channel. I'm going to follow that shit.
Yeah. I mean, if you just put Alex Bregman in the title of each freaking video.
Yep. Hey, that's a good idea. Maybe we should start doing that.
Hey, the same thing happens in boxing. There's a young up and coming boxer that fights for Golden Boy. His name's Ryan Garcia. And he has like 2 or 3 million followers, and he's really big on YouTube. And it got my son watching boxing more because he's on YouTube all the time watching something. But check him out, Ryan Garcia. And I see with the way the world's going, this is going to be more and more popular as these millennials get up there, you know?
Well, that's how all these athletes are branding themselves and promoting themselves before they even have agents and shit now anyway. I mean, you know, you've got your kids playing AAU and travel ball and stuff. All those kids, they've got Instagram accounts with thousands of followers. Mm-hmm. People know who they are before they even step foot in college. You know, Zach and I were talking about Zion a couple weeks ago and how college elevated him to new heights that he wouldn't probably have never been to if he would have went straight to the NBA, if that were still allowed or whatever, because he had a following, but going to Duke amplified that exposure.
Yeah, for him to get on ESPN damn near every night and to have tons of people in the sports world talking about him just skyrocketed his notoriety. I definitely didn't know who the hell he was. Unless you're a hardcore college basketball fan, you had no idea who he was. And now literally everyone pretty much knows who he is.
Or they've at least heard of the alien from Duke.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, he didn't really get any notoriety to his sophomore year, and he got that through AAU basketball.
Yep.
If it wasn't for AAU basketball, he wouldn't be no Zion right now.
And that's how a lot of guys are doing it these days. They've learned how to social media, and they're good at it. They know how to hashtag, they know how to get connected and get plugged into certain things. They understand the algorithms. They know how to promote themselves. They could probably teach us a few things.
Yeah, I would love to learn their tricks.
Yeah, because it obviously works. Um, but I mentioned Mike Trout, and that's one that I really want to get into because people have been going absolutely apeshit over the Mike Trout signing. And Justin, you're not a baseball guy, but I do want to get your perspective on this.
Yeah, it's
The
crazy.
12-year, $430 million contract.
No athlete is worth that.
1 year less than Harper and $100 million more.
I'm used to football, and that's never going to happen in football. It's never going to happen in basketball. And I understand that baseball, they play, God, 10 times the games and all that. And I
More than
understand
that.
that. But he's making, I read an article about it, and he's making like $1 million a game or something crazy.
Yeah, that sounds fair though.
Golly.
He's packing that stadium though. He's selling tickets.
Yeah,
They play 162 baseball games a year. 81 of them are at home.
right.
That's 30,000 seats 81 times at an average of $100 a ticket. Not to mention concessions, beer, jerseys, whatever else, t-shirts, you name it. Like everything's got trout. They've got fucking like hats that are a trout with the Angels A on it. And they sell those at the stadium for like $40 or whatever it is. And kids always have them on every game. That's why they're worth this much money.
Yeah, because they make God knows how much for the team and the league itself,
Yeah, I see no problem with it. They're out there all summer long in the hottest months playing games. NFL, they play what, 17 games a year?
Yeah. The argument could be made that is a way more physical sport and you damage your body. It's comparing apples and oranges, if you ask me. It's two totally different worlds. Yes, they're both sports, but the baseball side of it is, I don't know, it's more to the player. Like if you're a good hitter, that's on you. Like it's not a team sport that you're a great hitter. You know what I mean? That has nothing to do with the rest of the team. If you can hit fucking 50 home runs in a season, that's on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and to that point, that kind of brings me to my next little topic that grinds my gears is everyone like that I've seen anyway has been like, but he doesn't have any rings. He hasn't won any rings. How can they pay him that much money if he doesn't win any fucking rings? Let me tell you something. On a baseball team, you have 9 players on the team. A superstar player only gets maybe what, 4 at bats a game?
Yep.
Mike Trout's a center fielder. He gets maybe what, 5 to 8 fly balls in a game?
Yep.
Out of 27 outs, that's, it's a majority, but it's not a majority, but it's a good percentage, but it's not enough for him to make
sway the
right. He doesn't make such a huge impact in every single game. But what he does is he always consistently brings good numbers to the table so that the guys around him, if they're able to pick up their game or elevate their games, that gives you a winning ball club. You've got that good cornerstone that is going to be reliable, 150 games a year or whatever.
Yeah. And maybe if they didn't have to pay Pujols, they could surround Mike Trout with some fucking great players.
Which in 3 years, Pujols' his deal will drop off. All that money will drop off. He'll retire and go off into Cooperstown. And then they'll be able to manipulate more contracts and, get guys in, maybe sign a free agent. They've got a 6th or 7th best farm system in baseball. So they've got some young talent coming up. The Angels will win a World Series with Mike Trout before they're done.
Are they going to have to pay Shohei here soon?
No, man. He was a rookie last year.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
He's still got six fucking years before he's a free agent.
Nice. So
he might get some change in arbitration, but I mean, it's not going to be one of those like, oh my God, we have to pay him $40 million a year too.
Yeah. So he's basically locked up.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I mean, they'll be good for years. I mean, once Pujols drops off, they'll be set, and then all these people are like, "But he hasn't won any rings." They'll just finally shut up. And
Yep.
by the
That
way,
brings the argument, though. Wouldn't you rather have that $400 million spread out because there's 9 people on a team?
you got to also think that baseball doesn't have salary caps. That 400 million is going to him, but the owner can still spend equal amounts of money everywhere else if he chose to.
Yeah, that is crazy. There's so much fucking money in baseball, man.
I didn't know they didn't have salary caps.
No, they have a luxury threshold to where if you go over it, then they fine you. But that's it. You just pay the fines. Like the New York Yankees paid fines for 60 years or whatever it was consecutively. They paid millions of dollars in fines because they always had such a high payroll. Red
Man.
Sox always pay fines. The Angels will now pay fines. The Cubs pay fines. The Astros pay fines. If you're good in baseball,
You pay
chances are
fines.
you're paying a fucking fine because you're paying your goddamn players.
That's crazy.
The Braves aren't paying their players because they don't go above that threshold. That's why it was such a big deal that they even were competitive last year because they're not a huge spending team.
They don't have as big of a market for sure.
Mm-mm. And they don't have the loyal fan base like they used to back in the 90s. You know, once they kind of dropped off with the Maddox and Glavine and Smoltz and all those guys, that kind of came to an end. Their fan base just shit out on them.
Yeah. Yankees have fans for fucking days.
The Yankees have fans for fucking days, but they also have people that don't know their ass from their elbow when it comes to baseball. They
That's
just
true.
wear the hat because it's trendy.
Well, yeah, and I think that's what gets them money. Like if you just slap a Yankees logo on something, the idiot fans will buy it.
Yeah, because they're like, oh yeah, I like the Yankees. And then they're like, yeah, I remember whenever so-and-so was playing. It's like, dude, that's been like 12 years ago, man.
Yeah.
Like
Aaron Judge, he's a player.
Yeah, they know one player off the team, but you mentioned like Gleyber Torres, and they're like, I don't know who that is. So
CC.
Oh yeah, they might know CC though, because this is his last year. He'll go off
That's
to
true.
Cooperstown after this year.
Yeah, that's true.
Whenever he's elected.
Right.
But yeah, that Mike Trout thing, man. I saw so many people bitching about it online, and
Just haters. It's the same thing as Tom Brady haters. If Mike Trout was on their favorite baseball team, they'd be ecstatic.
yeah, probably. Oh, looks like Justin dropped out.
Yeah, his camera went out, so he's probably gonna try to get it back.
So last week you and I did the our top 5 position players.
That we did.
And you know, we said we were going to come back this week with our pitchers, and pitchers were a little more difficult than the hitters.
Jesus Christ. It's mostly because I'm not as seasoned of a baseball fan as you, but I don't know enough for sure to make an honest list for myself.
I think it's harder to identify the stud pitchers because they're not always in the highlight reels.
And they only play every 5 days or something.
Right. You know, you don't see them every single day on Sports Center, you know, cranking homers or, you know, lacing doubles or whatever.
Right.
You see them every now and then if they have an exceptional game.
Yep.
You know, like if Chris Sale goes out there and throws 8 no-hit innings, then yeah, they're going to talk about it on Sports Center.
Yep.
But if he goes out there and he just, you know, 5 innings of, you know, 4-hit baseball, gives up a run or 2, then it's like, just an average day in the life of Chris Sale.
Right. And even if they go like 7 innings and give up 2 runs or something, that's still good, but it won't make any kind of highlight reel.
They'll show the offense on the highlight reels.
Yep.
I mean, that's how it is. Home runs sell tickets.
Yep. For sure.
Pitchers win championships. That's how it works.
Yeah. Kind of like defense in football.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, your pitcher is your defense in baseball.
Right.
That's who's preventing them from scoring runs. So,
but I was thinking, I know just a very few, obviously, star pitchers, but I definitely would like to get your take on who you think is your top 5 if you want to do that.
Sure. Well, where did you go? Like, what were your choices? And just to kind of see where you were leaning.
I basically just picked like I watched like videos of the top 10 whatever pitchers, and I was like, I mean, I guess I don't know shit about Jason DeGrom. I obviously have seen Kluber before,
Mm-hmm.
Chris Sale, of course, and we've talked about dude from Dodgers, Kershaw, how he's kind of dropping off. Blake Snell, of course, but I don't know where to put them all, so I didn't really.
Okay, that's fair. Well, then for me in the National League, my top five, number 5, I would have Aaron Nola of the Phillies.
Okay.
He who also just got an extension. Uh,
Extension fucking time of the year, I guess.
dude, it's been insane, man. I've never seen this many extensions like a week before the season starts. It's crazy. Which
Yeah.
most teams nowadays are starting to put like opening day as the stop date for the discussions on contracts and stuff. So maybe they're trying to get to where it's like, okay, we're done now. We got them all out of the way. Let's focus on the season. Anyway, 4, I've got Thor, Noah Syndergaard. He's a badass. He goes out there, he throws hard, and he doesn't really give up the big home runs.
Is he the Mets?
Yeah, he is with the Mets.
Okay, gotcha.
3, I've still got Kershaw on my list as 3 because he's been falling off, but you can't completely eliminate Kershaw yet.
Sure.
2, I've got DeGrom. And then 1, I've got Max Scherzer still at number 1 in the National League. I think he's leaps and bounds the best pitcher that's in the National League. And the American League, you mentioned Kluber. I've got him at 5. I've got Garrett Cole at 4. And Trevor Bauer of the Indians at 3.
Nice.
Verlander 2, and Sale at 1. It kind of hurt my soul to have to drop Kluber to 5.
Yeah.
But he's not been Klubot.
Yeah, it's very strange. I wonder what happened. It's very interesting because with him, he's not a velocity pitcher. He throws dirty stuff. And so the saying usually is, if a guy just throws heat, then that'll fall off. But usually the dirty throwers can have a longer career. And so I don't really understand what has happened with him. And maybe it's just a mental thing. Maybe he's got an injury that he hasn't taken care of. I don't have a clue.
Yeah, I don't either. It seems like night and day. Like one day he was phenomenal, the next day it's like, hey, you're a mediocre guy. But
yeah, it's weird.
He still makes the list because I mean, if he's on, he's a monster. He's
lights out.
Yeah,
no kidding. One that I had seen over and over that didn't make your list was Madison Bumgarner.
Mad Bum, he's great. He's phenomenal. I would put him at like 7th, 8th.
Okay.
But he's fallen off considerably from his ace days.
So he's another guy that's just
when the Giants were winning every other World Series, he was a cornerstone of that team.
Okay.
But he's now getting older, his arm's not as reliable, and it's showing. He's touchable.
Sure.
So
yeah, shit happens.
But and you mentioned Blake Snell for the American League. I would have him just on the outside, maybe around 6 or 7. Luis Severino gets an honorable mention as well for the Yankees. Watch for Walker Buehler. I've mentioned him a few times on the podcast, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Dodgers pitcher and he's a young cat. He's going to be great.
Right. And if you like those just insanely ridiculous fastballs, and you get Cardinals games by chance, they're I don't know if he's their closer, but he won't have any other position but that. Jordan Hicks, it throws fucking just fire. I think it was last year at some point he threw 105. Whoa. Nasty. He's like 21, 22 years old. He doesn't have much control. And he can only really do like 2 innings or so.
Sure. That makes sense.
My God, he just throws absolute missiles.
105.
Yeah. Chapman is the only other pitcher to throw that fast.
I was going to say, I think Chapman threw 106 maybe, but that's insane.
Yeah, it's nuts. And if he can, dial in his just his location. He throws a lot of balls. Obviously, it's hard to control that stuff, and he's really young too. He's working on a slider. It's okay. It's either on or it's off, really, from what I've seen. But man, a young kid that can just throw pure heat, and you can't teach that. I think you can teach someone to control their pitches, but you can't teach someone how to throw that fucking hard.
Yeah, no, it's something natural, some natural ability. Their arms are just able to be elastic and just
Yeah, it's
throw a
nuts.
ball fast as fuck. Um, if he can develop a nice wipeout slider for his out pitch, oof, because
Yeah,
that's what Sale uses. Sale uses a fastball and a slider mainly.
right. It's a deadly combo if you can do it.
And the thing that they really need to work on and focus on, and Justin was a pitcher, so he can attest to this, is mimicking your release point. You want to have every single one of your pitches coming exactly the same arm angle.
Right.
Because if you're a hitter and you see an over the shoulder angle and you know that's a fastball, and then you see kind of a off to the side and you know that's going to be like his breaking stuff, you can tell exactly what's coming as a hitter, and you can sit there and be like, okay, well, here comes the hook.
Yep.
Crack.
Yeah.
Gone.
You can wait for the fastball and stuff.
Right. I've been reading The Science of Hitting by Ted Williams, and he talks about stuff like that in the book. Studying the pitchers, looking for every little detail. If their knee goes up a little bit higher on one pitch than the other, you've got to be able to pay attention to that. And then, he also breaks down understanding pitch counts better and stuff like that, and how you can, as a baseball player, they tell you not to guess at what pitch is coming. But if you have the knowledge of the pitch count and what trends are, you can make an educated guess as to
Right.
what's coming. And that's what he did throughout his whole career. And I mean, over 300 career hitter, last guy to hit 400 in a season. I'll take his word for it.
Yeah, he probably knows a little something about what he's talking about.
Yeah.
Speaking of knowing what you're talking about, Justin is a basketball fan, probably the biggest I know. And March Madness just kicked off. Old Rocky Top got their dub.
Ooh, they did get a dub, barely.
You'll take it, right?
A win's a win, man.
But I'm gonna deuce out of here. We've got some plans. Enjoy March Madness, guys.
Yeah. Have
See
fun
you,
tonight, Zach.
Yep. See ya.
So yeah, he set us up perfectly, Justin, to go ahead and talk about some basketball. Tennessee got their dub today. They managed to hold on. I got nervous whenever they lost the lead there for a while.
Yeah, it was and they've played bad, start in with Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe that's a kind of an eye opener. When you go toe to toe with Colgate, and you got a bigger team coming up. And before we talk anything more, I do want to apologize about my camera. I'm about to got a brand new MacBook Pro, and the camera, for some reason, it hates Hangouts.
That's so weird.
And I've canceled the appointment twice, and I'm going to have to eventually just take it.
Yeah, that's strange that it's it keeps blocking you out like that. But I mean, for most of our listeners, it won't be an issue because they listen on the podcast and don't see your face anyway. But for the people that are watching on the live YouTube stream, our apologies. You'll just have to look at me for a while.
Yeah, I apologize. I only spent $1,500. I can understand why my camera don't work.
A piece of shit. So anyway, yeah, like you were saying, Tennessee went toe to toe with Colgate. I'd heard of Colgate before, but I didn't know that they were from New York. I had no clue where they were from until today. And they had that one kid. What was the name?
Burns.
That's it. He 8, 9 3-pointers today. Like,
yeah, he went nuts.
It seemed like Colgate was a similar style as Auburn, or at least they played a similar style today. Maybe they saw the writing on the wall that, Tennessee is not very good at defending the 3-point line.
Yeah, I know. Tennessee, I mean, they're all over the ball, and I believe they had like 17 turnovers, Colgate did.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they were all over it, but, their perimeter defense, they try to take away the inside, and they do a good job at it. But when you got a team that gets hot like Auburn did against us, and then you got this kid just slinging them up left and right, when there's nothing. That's how you beat Tennessee.
It looked like Steph Curry for a minute, man. He was just flinging them.
Yeah, he was, and I was nervous too because when he hit that one, and Admiral was right in his face, and he hit that one I think they went up by 1 point.
Oh god,
I was like, oh man, what's going on? I was like, this ain't happening in round one.
2 years in a row.
Oh God, and I'm wanting it to happen so bad to Duke. I know it never will, not
Man,
this year at least.
Gardner Webb ended up losing down in the second half. They got dominated, but they were ahead of Virginia at halftime.
Yeah, they were up 12.
That was pretty significant. Like, I had to flip over to that game as soon as the Tennessee game was over because I wanted to see if Gardner Webb could pull it off. Everybody always wants to see a 16 win.
Oh yeah, and I've got a buddy. Matter of fact, the 16 seed has never won.
Never.
15 seed has upset. Well, they upset Duke 2 years in a row, which was great to watch. But I got a buddy that actually went to Gardner Webb. His name's Jamie Horton. He played professional ball for a little bit, and he kept posting on my page. I put on there about Murray State. I said my dark horse is Murray State, and I called it from the get-go. I said Murray State. I have them going to the Elite Eight, I think, because of Ja Morant. And he kept posting Gardner Webb, and I was like, God, man, I know he went to school there, but he keeps posting Gardner Webb, so maybe he knew something that we didn't.
I went to Gardner Webb too.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yes, sir. That's where I went to college. So,
where's it located?
Boiling Springs, North Carolina. It's about 45 minutes to an hour west of Charlotte.
Well, that is wild. I had no idea.
Have you ever heard of Shelby, North Carolina?
Yeah.
It's right beside there.
Oh, that's wild. I didn't know that. So you was rooting for him too then?
Yeah, I was definitely, I always root for the 16 seeds unless it's a team that I like as a 1 seed. But I had a little more interest in it because it was G-Dub.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's a small world.
Yeah, it's cool. Good old running Bulldogs. Oh, well, they're running back to Boiling Springs now. But
yeah, I mean, when you come in as a 16 seed, and that's what I like about the tournament, these little teams don't get to experience that in football.
No, not at all.
In other sports, but in basketball, they do.
Right.
Yeah. And in basketball, man, it's like these little teams, even if they don't win, they put Gardner Webb on the map. People now know Gardner Webb.
It's their first time making it to the dance, but I know they made national news about 6-7 years ago when they beat a top 5 team. I want to say it was like a top 2 or 3 team at home. I can't remember who it was they beat, but they beat somebody that was like supposed to wipe the floor with them, and they ended up winning. And it was like, holy shit, Gardner Webb, and everyone was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, it happens, man. Just like look at Ja Morant, or Morant, however you say it. How did he end up as good as he is? He'll probably be the second player in the NBA draft, and that's why I picked him, because I knew about this kid. But how did he fall to Murray State? How did none of these Division I schools? Well, I mean, Murray State's a Division I school, but I mean, like the ACC, SEC, like how did they not get this kid?
Is it because of his Zon? Is it because of his height? He's real short.
The only thing I can think of is where he did play with Zon. All these scouts went to the games and they were focused on Zon, and he was kind of overlooked.
That makes sense. I could see that. He was kind of an afterthought, like, oh yeah, that kid was good, but Zion.
Yeah, and that probably hurt him more than anything. And the fact they didn't win the championship, which is shocking.
Yeah, who beat them?
I don't know. I'm telling you, man, there's some good. I've seen him over the last 3 years. I've seen some incredible ball players, like kids, like 12, 11. You just know they're going to be something, man. It's hard telling. And when you get in AAU, no matter how good you are, there's always a team that's just as good. There's so many of them anymore.
Right. Yeah. And they're spread out. A lot of good players. One of my boys, Brandon Janice, he was actually the one that was updating me about that game, the Murray State Marquette game. And he was like, dude, Ja Morant's going off. And I was like, I've never even heard of this cat. Like, okay, cool, dude. Like, he's a no-name player is having a good game. And then I started like seeing more and more about it. And I was like, this kid's for real. And then you started talking about it. And then I saw another one of my buddies that's an avid basketball fan that was talking about him. I'm like, okay, I need to pay attention to this cat.
Yeah,
So
he's the legit. He'll be the number 2 pick in the draft.
it'll be Zion then him.
It'll be Zion, him, and Barrett will be 1, 2, 3.
Yeah. I've not really been keeping up with the off the court news. Has Williams announced that he's going pro, or is he staying?
He hasn't announced anything. I
Okay.
don't expect him to. I know that Admiral's the only big senior we're going to lose. So if Williams comes back and Bone comes back, dude, Tennessee is going to be incredibly tough next year.
Did you know that Tennessee didn't have a single freshman score a point this year?
I can imagine, man. I mean, they're not all seniors, but they're, juniors, sophomores. I mean, next year will be the last big year, but we do have some 5-stars that are coming in too. So, I mean, I think Rick Barnes is turning the page, and Tennessee's going to be somebody that's going to stick around for. This ain't a fluke. Is basically what I'm saying.
Good. They'll turn into one of those perennial Final Four Elite Eight teams that's always there.
Yeah, I hope so, and it helps too with recruiting for football. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. If you're a big school in multiple sports, hell yeah, people want to come to be a part of that.
Yeah, and I see, I grew up in the Jordan era, so I'm a big Tar Heels fan. I always have been, but I bleed orange. So, and I was telling my buddy, he tried to, he was like, "You're a Tar Heels fan. Why are you pulling for Tennessee?" Blah blah, trying to call me bandwagon. I was like, "Look," I said, "I've loved Tennessee my whole life, just like I love the Tar Heels." I said, "But when has Tennessee been a team that I can get behind in basketball?" I mean, they did it with Chris Lofton and them. It's probably been 5, 6 years ago. I said, but it's like a once every 5, 6, 7 years, they're actually a legitimate team that you can get behind and actually root for. I was like, man, I can understand why he says that, but I told him, he said, what are you going to do if they play each other in the Final Four? I was like, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to enjoy it, and whoever wins, wins, and then it's going to be great because one of them two are going to be in the championship game.
If you had to pick between one, which one would you cheer for?
I don't know, man. I would probably, just because of the state of the football team and how bad it's been over recent years, I would pull for Tennessee this year because I'm wanting Pruitt to keep recruiting like he is, and I want to see bigger things for the football team. I know that sounds weird, but I'm not a North Carolina football fan.
Sure, no, I understand. It's strictly basketball, and
Yeah.
it's because Tennessee's basketball program has never really been a consistent thing. So you wanted to have a good basketball team that you cheered for, and then your football team that you cheered for. Makes sense,
They're all I have that's a winning team.
right? Right.
As you know, I like
That's,
all teams that are garbage.
they're coming around though. It looks like some of them.
I hope so.
UNC. You're talking about them. They play what? Iona or whatever
they
it's
play
called.
Iona this week. Yes.
Yeah.
Or tonight at 9:00.
Tonight. Yeah. So I'll be up watching that game too, probably.
And not that I'm not scared on it. I honestly think North Carolina has a good chance to win it this year.
I do too. That was my pick to win it all, was UNC. I'm not a Tar Heels fan, but I think they've got the best team.
Yeah, they got the best group, like the whole. If you took the 5 as a whole,
well, and they've got depth too.
Yeah, they do, and also you got a legendary coach that's probably in the top 2, if not the greatest coach of all times. And I hope it's if it is that, I hope it's Duke, North Carolina. I mean, wouldn't that be fitting? The biggest rivals, they're within like 2 games of each other, within like 20 points of each other lifetime.
I mean, it would be cool to see that in the championship, but I don't know, man. That means Tennessee's not there.
Well, like I said, if I can't be mad either way, I'll just probably sit back and just enjoy a game, not having to. But like I said, if I had to choose one, I'll probably pull for Tennessee just for the football aspect of it.
Well, I would if I were, a fan of Tar Heels and had a mutual interest in both or whatever, I would still choose Tennessee just because they've never done it before.
Exactly. And it makes it that's much more special.
Exactly. The Tar Heels, they've won, I don't know, countless championships. They've won a lot. And Tennessee's never even made the finals. So
I think the Elite Eight is the best we did. That's that year that Lofton and them was there.
if they meet Carolina this year, it'll be in the Final Four.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Either way, I've got a championship game to look forward to.
Yes, sir.
And
That's true. That's very true. You would, then you would know who you're cheering for in the championship, bar none. But
I just hope, man, Zon's great. He is. He's great. But, and I think it's how much ESPN hypes him up and how much they talk about him. I've been watching him lately, and like I would rather have Ja Morant on my team. I'd rather have PJ from Kentucky on my team. I just don't know, man. It's just I think if he wasn't built like a damn alien, if he was not so big, he wouldn't be the big thing that they're making it out to be. He's just got athleticism, size, blah, blah, blah. But once he gets to the NBA, I swear to you, once he gets up there with guys the same size as him, I don't see it, man.
did you see Charles Barkley whenever he was talking, before the games and in between games and stuff when they were talking about Zion being, the next big thing, the next so and so or whatever. And Chuck was just like, "Man, let the kid be the next him. Don't make him the next MJ. Don't make him the next whatever. Let him be him." Like, and then they showed a stat later on where it compared him directly to Larry Johnson, and their stats were pretty damn similar through their best years in college or whatever. And Chuck was like, "That makes the most sense, but still, he's a different player. Like, they're different people." Larry was much more of a polished player whenever he was in college, whereas Zion's more of just a natural athletic freak.
Yeah, that's it. He's a big guy that can run like a guard. And
Hmm.
it's usually when you're that big, you're kind of goofy and you can't do that. But like I said, he's going to go up against people that are his size that are probably more athletic than him. And he's only played basketball for like 3 or 4 years. I think he said he started like in high school.
That's insane, man.
Yeah, so he don't really have that
The
experience. He's just dominating kids right now, basically.
Sure. I mean, he's just naturally a good player, but he doesn't have the years of fundamental training and stuff like that that a lot of these NBA players will have whenever he gets there.
Exactly. Like I watched Ja Morant play last night, and dude, he only had like 9 shots during the whole game. He had a triple double. He only had 8 shots with like a minute left. I think he had a last minute three, but he was a part of. I think they said 58 points. He was part of.
I saw the rebound that the last couple rebounds that he got that he needed for the triple double. I forget what game I was watching before that, but I flipped it over to see the end of that game, and I saw whenever he got his triple double, and the place went nuts for it.
Yeah, I mean, he had 14 rebounds, like 17 assists, and like 13 points. Like he only shot. I mean, when you only shoot the ball 8 daggum times, and you've already got a triple double. I mean, Zon couldn't do that. He's
No.
like he's basically the whole team. He's making the passes, he's getting the rebounds, he's scoring. He's not I mean, he can do it all. And that's what I would rather have on my team rather than just an alien that's ginormous.
Well, I'm glad you said that then, because that brings me back to what you said about Trout not paying all that money to one guy. Um, the reason that Trout would get all that money is because he can do it all. He's got above average power with the bat. He's got a plus throwing arm from the outfield. He's got outstanding range as a center fielder. He's got speed and can run the bases. He can hit for contact, hit for power. You name it, he can do everything. Just like your John Morant that you want on your team that can do everything.
It
It's
makes
it's
sense.
called a five tool player. They can do it all. The guys in the league that are like that are the ones that get those big deals because there's not a weak part in their game. That's why John Morant will go and be a number 2 overall pick because he's a five tool player essentially.
Yeah, and I think it's just the amount. Like if John Morant down the road becomes a great, he's still not going to make nearly what Trout's making. I'm talking pennies to the dollar. You know what I mean?
Yes, but Trout also had to play the first 7 years of his professional career making, $500,000.
Yeah, they need
Whereas
him for it.
whereas John Morant will sign as the number 2 overall draft pick and instantly have millions.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I asked Trenton right after that. I was like, "Hey, man, you want to go throw baseball?" Yeah, you want to start playing baseball? Let's go.
What'd he say?
No,
Well, I mean, he's got Floyd Mayweather as a idol, so he's like, I can make plenty of money in boxing. Fuck you.
that's all he wants to do. He don't like sports, and it kills me because I grew up, playing AAU ball and playing travel baseball, and my son hates it, and it's kind of heartbreaking. And I pushed him toward all this for so long, but he chose his own path, and we spend a lot of time, man, like 20 hours a week in that gym.
Now you were texting me privately. You said he's got another fight coming up soon.
He's supposed to fight this coming up, not tomorrow, but next weekend for the Golden Gloves tournament in Knoxville.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he and of course he fought a few weeks ago and he won that belt in Kentucky. He fought a kid that had 7 more fights, and he basically just beat that kid down. I mean, it made me proud because he was crying. He ran to me with his belt. And man, I tell you what, as a father, that's probably one of the proudest moments I've ever had in my entire life. Is I can't explain it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen my daughter win so many basketball games that it's like I'm always proud of her and it's always exciting, but it happens all the time. Like this is something that when you win a belt in a sport that it's just you and he's worked so hard for it, like that moment, just seeing him upset, man. I don't know, man. I can't explain it. And I was going crazy too. I was smacking the wall and yelling. And
Well, and you also got to consider he's only 9, dude, and he's
yeah,
already winning boxing championships.
yeah, it's crazy.
And he's going to go and compete in the Golden Gloves tournament soon. And I think what is 12 for the Junior Olympics? Is
No,
that
he can go ahead and go now. He just got to
Oh,
have a
wow.
couple. He's got to have a couple more fights. They don't get to go to the actual Olympic games, but they have the JOs, and it's basically considered a national title if you win. And do I think he's there? No.
Oh, come on. He can do it.
Man, some of these kids are crazy. And I mean, like some of these kids, I wouldn't let him fight. I wouldn't let him get in the ring with them. But they're just natural freaks, and they've been doing it for a long time, which Trent has too. But he's not there. I think he'll be there in a few years, and I'm going to let him go to the tournament if he makes it. I'll let him fight.
Sure.
But if it's going to be a kid that's going to hurt him at 9 years old, me or his coach won't let him get in there. Won't let him do that fight. I mean,
Okay.
I would let him fight probably 95% of the kids in this world, but there's that little 5% that are out there that I've seen that he's not getting in the ring with right now.
Now, would you say that that 5%, do they kind of cherry pick opponents to get, beefed up stats and stuff, or are they just legitimate badasses?
Well, the thing is that 5%, you don't really know who you're fighting at 9 years old. There's no videos out there. You don't know who you're fighting. Like we just knew that this kid had a lot more fights. We didn't know if he won them, lost them, nothing. But that 5%, everybody knows them.
See,
Every
maybe
gym knows them, so nobody takes those fights. So they have problems. The only time they can fight is in tournaments where nobody can dodge them. You know what I mean?
gotcha.
But
Yeah,
no, they can't get fights because, like, if it comes across and say, like my coach's son, his name's Briley, 11 years old, weighs less than Trenton, but he goes up against 17, 18-year-old kids and just destroys them.
oh wow.
Like he's a freak, and he's never had a fight because when you say, "Hey, Briley, blah blah blah," everybody's like, "No, no." And he's never had a fight, but he ain't gonna get a fight because they know who he is.
Hmm.
Like he's been doing it since he was 2 years old. And you
Oh
say
wow.
his name, and they're like, "No, we're not taking that fight. No, we're good." It's crazy, man.
That is nuts, man. That's
It's like the better you are, the less you fight.
Now, do you think it would be beneficial to Trenton to, maybe if you managed like a social media account for him and tried to get him some exposure, get some fight videos and then, videos of him training and stuff like that, putting them up on social to get his name out there as a fighter?
Yeah, I think when he gets in like middle school, like right now, we try to keep him off social media. Just,
Right. Well, I mean, he's 9. I understand that, but
but I have posted, like about a year ago, I posted a video of him hitting mitts with
mhm.
Brad, and it's like a 25-step punch that he does, and he remembers it like they do it fast as, and he remembers every one of them. And I posted that on Instagram, and I had like I don't know how many shares. I probably had 200 likes, and it
Oh
was
wow.
people from like California, and all these boxers were saying, and like when I posted this picture up of him holding his belt, like random boxers from California, Texas, pros, everybody was saying, "Congrats, champ! You'll never forget your belt, champ." And everybody was commenting, "That's cool." I mean, you just type in the hashtag boxing, and it blew up
Right.
instantly.
Yeah, that's cool. And I'm sure that made him feel like $1 million too.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. I try not to put him out there too much because that does give people the opportunity to see him. So if somebody's going to fight him and they find him on YouTube or they find him on Instagram, then they're going to know exactly how to beat him or what to do. And so
Okay.
it kind of
It,
like,
it it's a
I've,
double-edged sword kind of.
yeah, like I've never even posted him sparring on
Okay.
social media. I think I've sent you videos or something,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I've never posted anything like that. Like I'll post him hitting mitts or whatever, but I've never posted a fight. And you'll notice like his championship fight, I didn't post that when he won that belt.
Yeah, you just posted the pictures with the belt.
Yeah, I didn't post it. And everybody's asking me to, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to post it just because I don't want whoever he's going to fight in the next week or two to see it, and then,
Be able to study it and be like, "Oh, well, he always, sets up this punch with this punch," and
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
I get it. Yeah. That's
But
interesting that it's almost advantageous to keep a low profile in that sport, but in other sports, it's like the more exposure you have, the better.
yeah, and you can't video, like, there's nobody videoing amateur fights. Like, I can do it on my phone,
Mhm.
but there's no like cameras there or anything like that. But at a pro fight, there's cameras all around the ring. And that's when there ain't no choice. You can go out and put it on social media because everybody's going to see it anyway.
Gotcha.
And that's like
So,
Ryan Garcia, the one I was talking about. He's a pro, so it don't matter what he puts out. Everybody knows what he does. So that's kind of I guess, the game plan for amateur boxing. There's no video unless you screw up and post it yourself. There's no video.
see, that's interesting. Like, I follow a lot of amateur MMA guys and stuff like that, and they're always sharing and posting their own stuff, trying to get more eyes on them. Because in the MMA world, it seems like the more people that see you fight and win, more promoters want to book you.
Yeah, and a lot of those amateurs, I guarantee you that that's cost them a win or two because somebody's seen that. I
It
don't
might. It might. It makes sense what you're saying because you're giving game tape
like
of yourself.
boxing is so weird, and MMA is the same way. I know so many people where we travel so much. I know people from every gym, and like we'll call each other and be like, "Hey, I got this kid. How good is this kid?" And like everybody knows all these fighters, but it's not out there. It's only in the gyms. So like, for example, we had somebody fighting a kid out of a gym that Trenton fought, and he called and he was like, "Hey, we're getting ready to fight so and so. Is he any good? What's his record? How did you do it? Blah blah blah." And so much. Like I know so many little kids from around the East Coast that box, and it's like a kind of like a networking thing, man. Like so, as far as those amateurs, I don't understand why they. I know the I see it too. They put all that stuff out there, and that's if they want to do that, that's fine. But if they're good, people's going to know about them regardless. They
Sure.
don't. They don't have to do that. That's just something that I think that hurts you more than it helps you, unless you're a pro. If you're a pro, then video the heck out of it.
Yeah, but I can also see it as a positive of gaining followers and, because that's how you're going to end up getting sponsorships and getting paid to do what you're doing.
Yeah, like Adam Townsend videos all his stuff, but he's a pro. You know what I mean?
Well, sure. I mean, that's different. Like you said, they pretty much have no choice because cameras are in their face every time they go out there anyway.
Yeah,
Um,
I probably wouldn't do it for Trenton, and I probably won't until he turns pro.
yeah, that's fine too. At what age can you turn pro in boxing?
16.
16?
Yeah, and like you can go on Trenton's, you can go to Box Rec, and there's something you can go on Trenton's profile, and it shows his uh who he's fought, wins and losses. So if they really want to find out, they can go in there and look at that kind of stuff, but it don't show any videos. It just has the records and the decision. If sometimes they don't even write the decision in the book, they just do win loss. like this last fight, Trenton dominated, and I was like, oh, I want to see how many judges got Trenton versus the other kid, and they didn't even mark it. They just put a check by the win. So
Oh wow. Like unanimous decision, he wins, whatever.
yeah, he'll end up fighting probably 300 times before he turns pro.
Wow. I mean, he'll definitely have experience.
Yeah, and that's what hurt boxers. A lot of boxers will have like one amateur fight, they'll turn pro because they want to make a few dollars, and then some guy comes up that's fought a ton in amateurs, and then they get destroyed, and then their career's over.
Yeah, that makes sense. And a lot of times it's just because of the hardships of life, I guess. Like, oh, well, I can turn pro now and get paid, a couple $100.
Yeah, we've got a few kids that are doing that now that are wanting to,
Hmm.
and we won't let them. We're like, no, you're not ready.
Yeah,
Mm,
try to talk them out of it as long as possible.
yeah, and it's just like anything. Like, say Zion wasn't as good as he was; he was mediocre, but he wants to go pro because he wants a few dollars,
Hmm.
and then he don't get drafted, and then he ends up in China or wherever playing. You know what I mean? Like, you got to be ready before you make that jump. And that can go with any sport. Same thing with baseball. You know, people sign out of high school now for the major leagues.
Yep. No, that's been happening for decades in baseball.
What I do like about baseball though is they always go through the same steps.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to jump straight to the major league team and start playing on TV. They're going to go to the farm league or
Yep.
wherever.
They'll send you to low A ball, then you'll go to high A, then you'll go to double A, triple A, then you're in the big leagues.
Yeah,
So
I like that.
you have to prove yourself at every level before you make it. It's a competitive route, but it's a lucrative one if you're good enough.
That's how it should be. I mean,
But to that point, that's why they don't get paid mega dollars right away because they're not going to pay some kid down in, double A ball $20 million to play in front of 52 people in Elizabeth in Tennessee.
that's what's crazy, man. Like even our little town, you go watch the Twins play, and just the fact like Kirby Puckett came out of there, and
Yeah.
Joe Meyer, the catcher,
Yep.
and you watch these guys play, and then like you said, there's like 10 people in the whole stadium, and you watch the game, and you only go because you get in free or whatever the reason is you're there,
Mhm.
and then down the road they're pros making millions. It's kind of, I don't know, it's crazy.
I have a baseball that my dad's dad gave to me. He went to almost every Twins game there in Elizabethton, but it was a ball that was signed by all of the team, and I only know one of the names on the ball. The rest of them are just scribbles. But Kirby Puckett had signed that ball.
Oh, so that's cool. That's something that you can't never. Maybe 10 people in the world have a ball with Kirby Puckett for when he played for the Lisbon Twins.
Elizabethton Twins, right? And then you got the Johnson City Cardinals just 15 miles away, another farm team that Rick Ankills played there, and I'm sure several other mega stars have come through there at some point in their careers. I'm sure Yadi Molina was there at one point.
Yeah, then down the road, like we're trading boxes in Chattanooga a lot. My
The
cousin always
Lookout,
goes to the Lookout games. Yeah, and they're got a lot of people go pro from the Lookouts.
and you got the Tennessee Smokies in Gatlinburg. They've
Yeah,
got a gorgeous stadium there too.
I haven't been to a Smokies game. I've been by there a bunch, but I haven't never got to check one out. I'd have to do that.
I went to a game with Andy, my brother-in-law.
Oh, Franklin.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have been to one at Myrtle Beach. It was like a cloudy day one day. We were trying to find something to do, and we saw that there was a game that day, and we went and checked it out, and it was pretty cool.
yeah. Yeah, we've got the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp down here, which is by far the worst name, but whatever.
That's awesome, though, man. The jumbo shrimp.
So what's going on with your podcast? You guys still rocking and rolling with that?
Yeah, man. Matter of fact, when I get off here, I haven't edited it yet, and we have a long one. We actually yesterday interviewed a guy that just competed in Australia for the Arnold uh, strongman competition.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's one of the 12 that got picked, and he's trying to make it to the classic, which is the big one. And he's only 25 years old, so he's still young in it. And
Wow,
you
good
got to
for him.
listen to that one, man. We started talking about like what he eats.
Mhm.
And he said for breakfast, he eats 8 eggs, a pound and a half of sausage, a cup of oatmeal, orange juice, milk, 2 bananas, and something else just for breakfast. For lunch,
Jesus.
he eats a pound and a half of steak and a cup of rice. He takes a 30-minute break and he eats another pound and a half of steak and a cup of rice. And then for supper, he'll eat like 2 pounds of fish and whatever. I mean, just listen to him talk about the food. And I said, "Well, how big are you, man?" He said, "Well, I'm 6'8", 380."
Jesus Christ. And he's just
Yeah.
built like a fucking wall too. He's not a fat guy. Oh man,
And what got me is he's
the
like, "But
mountain.
he said, "I'm trying to get up to 420 though before I go back to the next Arnold." I was like, "God almighty." I said, "I'm a big dude. And I've never felt small." I was like, "But I'm tiny compared to you, man. That's crazy."
Man, when I was in the Marine Corps and got into lifting weights and all that stuff, I thought it was the biggest like accomplishment of my life whenever I broke 200 for the first time. Because I've always been a little guy, you know that. I was
Yeah.
like out of high school, I was like 130 pounds or whatever. So when I finally broke 200, because it was all muscle mass at that point, because I'd lifted for like a year straight and put on like a good 40 pounds of muscle. And I was finally like right at 200, finally got up to about 205 before I hurt myself and had to quit. But I was so accomplished. I couldn't imagine being 420 pounds and just being a shit house like that.
You and I ask you, I mean, I don't even know I didn't ask you how I wanted to, and I didn't. We ran out of time because we've been talking forever. But I wanted to ask him how much he spent on food a day.
Oh, I bet he spends a fortune just on food.
He said he's got, he tries to get sponsors to go on trips and stuff, but I mean, he's basically working just to feed himself, just to get ready for these contests.
Mhm.
But I mean, it was a real good interview, and we're supposed to go live this week.
Oh, really?
I
You're
actually,
switching to the YouTube Live?
No, we're gonna go live, like, and we're gonna stream it on Facebook just to ask questions, and we're gonna post it like a normal podcast.
Okay.
But I bought an omnidirectional mic. Basically, you put it down in the middle of everybody, and then it picks up within 10 feet. And there's gonna be 6 of us. Roy, that just won his fight, his nutritionist, and then a couple other guys from the gym, and me and Jimmy just sit around and talk. We're supposed to do it this week. And Roy had to go out of town, so we're going to do it on Tuesday. So Tuesday we should have something come up on Facebook. We're still going to post it on Saturday, but we're going to do the first ever live from the boxing gym podcast. See how
Oh,
it
that'll
works.
be dope. My buddy Wallow here, he's the host of Locker Room Talk. They kind of do something like that, like a round table where they're all in the same room, but they all have their own individual mics. But he just bought a new little device that'll sit in the middle of the table, and it's a 360 camera. So whoever talks, the camera points to them, and then when the next person talks, it rotates and talks to them or whatever. So it's kind of like how you and I are talking now, so that when I talk, it shows my face. When you talk, it shows your picture. Kind of the same thing with them. It'll show them as they're podcasting live, and they broadcast on Facebook Live as well.
That's awesome. See, I was going to get a more expensive mic, but we've never done it. So I got I mean, it wasn't the cheapest, but I didn't spend a lot of money because I want to see how it works. We don't even
Sure,
know how it's going to work.
sure.
And
Trial and error, man.
yeah, it sounds okay. Uh, Compared to what we're on now, it doesn't sound nearly as good
Hmm.
because it picks up basically everything. I mean, it's going to pick up within 10 foot every chair movement, every anything that you do, it's going to pick up that noise.
All right, and you won't be able to cut that shit out and post.
No. So we know it's going to be a little raw, but I think it's going to be cool because it'll be like everybody in a circle just basically talking shit like we do at the gym. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, that'll be fun. I'll definitely have to tune in for that one. I'm glad that the podcast bug bit you and you got so into it. That's fun.
yeah, we're doing good, man. It's just me and Jimmy both have been so busy lately, and it takes so long. Like today, when we get off here, I've got to edit, and I just know it's going to take me like 2 hours to edit.
Man, I'm so glad that we switched to this YouTube live stream, because now as soon as we're done, the video's available to rip off of YouTube, and then we convert that to an MP3, and then we just throw that up and it's good to go. There's no post editing. There's nothing.
Yeah,
It's
I got to get my camera fixed so we can do something along those lines.
yeah, it's so much easier. You know, that 2 hours of editing that you're gonna do, that's 2 hours that you could spend watching March Madness.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be doing that too, but
Well, I know you'll have the TV going in the background or whatever, but
yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
luckily this one's mostly interviews, so there's big long gaps where nobody's talking but one person.
yeah, that does make it a lot easier. When it's a conversation, that's when it's real hard to cut everybody's stuff out. That's how I did it for like 20 episodes or whatever it was.
I'm still doing it that way. Like I said, Zoom's working out really good. I like it a lot. And
Yeah, that's how you guys are bringing in your guest, right?
yeah, because we started doing it like you guys do, but it gets some people it's so hard to explain how to get on and do all that. And with Zoom, we basically just we text them the phone number right before they call in, and then the Zoom program breaks down all the audio. So I still have their audio file,
Gotcha.
just like if
That's
they're on a
cool.
computer. I mean, it's not, of course, their quality's not as good as Jimmy and I, but
Well, they don't have the mic and stuff, and they're like you said, they're using a cell phone, so
the guy from the UK had a mic. He sounded pretty good.
yeah, he did. He was an interesting interview. I like that guy.
Did you hear about the what was it, the triple Ironman?
Yeah, like what was it?
He said it took
Almost
72 hours or
yeah, like
something
2 or
crazy.
3 days, like 50 something or was it 50 something miles running
I don't know. I know the one that
or
got
what?
me is when he was talking about swimming, and he said they swim the English Channel. I was like, what in the hell?
Yeah, I was listening to that shit. I was like, this guy's insane.
We've got some really good guests, man,
Yeah,
these
you
few
have.
weeks.
You really have. It's been cool. Yeah,
Yeah,
you got guests that, I wouldn't have ever thought of. You got a lot of nutrition. I'm guessing a lot of those are Jimmy's buddies from like his little clubs and stuff that he's in. But a lot of
yeah,
it, like if you're into health and nutrition and stuff like that, check out some of the Into the Woods podcast because they cover a lot of cool stuff.
yeah. We do that. We do a lot of boxing right now.
Mhm.
A lot of obstacle course stuff, which is that guy from England, weightlifting, photography. I mean, we hadn't really focused on anything, and not we me and Jimmy's talked about it. And down the road, we may kind of like what you guys do. You basically have your baseball, and then the nerd side and things like that. You got what you're going to talk about weekly. I want to eventually get to that point, but we're kind of doing a little bit of everything, testing the waters to see what bites. You know what I mean?
And I think that's smart. I think it's good to kind of get a feel for what your audience would like and what they will actually listen to. I mean, we're still trying to get a good foothold and get a good base of an audience and stuff like that. So, I mean, we're right there with you. We're right there in the struggle, trying to
Yeah,
get listeners. And
we're gonna make it together, man. I'm
hell
telling you.
yeah, that's what I like about this podcast game, man. It's not a competition. It's not like, "Oh shit, Justin's got a podcast now. We can't let him back on because he'll, take our listeners." No, it's like if our listeners like you, then go listen to Justin's podcast too. It, there are tons of hours in the week and our podcasts only last about an hour a week, so
I listen to a ton of people every week. I listen to
yeah.
Rogan every week. I listen to us, you guys. I mean, like I said, you don't want to listen to the same podcast over and over. I mean, once you listen to it, you heard it.
Right.
And you know what we did that really, really helped us. Besides, I mean, you kind of notice we're doing like the UK, Roy's from New York. We're kind of getting people everywhere.
Mhm.
But we did a promotion on our Facebook page. We did a boost on it for a week, and we got like an additional like 100 likes on our Facebook page from Montana, Texas, Louisville, California, all over the world just from doing that week boost.
Now, let me ask, that any of those people that liked during that time, have they interacted or engaged in any of your posts since then? Like, have you
Yeah,
seen those same names, like, liking on your comments and sharing your stuff?
a few of them have. Yeah, I mean
Okay,
nothing
okay.
crazy, but I mean it's that week we definitely saw an up. I guess an upbring from that week. We saw it was worth it. I mean, I wouldn't do it all the time because it costs money,
Mhm.
But like anytime we have like another like a huge gas coming on, like maybe when we got the guy that the biggest Star Wars collector in the world. I personally don't care for Star Wars, but a lot of people love that shit. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
Star Wars is the shit, man.
I'm saying, and that's how Jimmy is, and this guy owns more shit than anybody.
That's cool.
So when we do him, we might do another promote. We're still, like I said, we're learning, man, just like you. And that's why I mention you guys in almost all my podcasts because every time I'm talking about something, it's something I learned from doing it with you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I mean, I listen and I always hear like whenever you drop our names or whatever, it's like, oh, he still loves us.
Yeah, man. I always, we text every day almost.
Hmm.
And football, the draft's coming up right after the March Madness.
Yeah, yeah, we've got a lot coming up, and we'll always have room for each other, and if you guys ever want Zach or I to come on your podcast, I'm sure we could work that out, and you're always welcome to come back on here and talk sports with us because that's the name of the game, helping each other get a bigger fan base, get a bigger following, and keep doing what we're doing because it's fun.
Yeah, it is. And we plan on having you on soon. We've talked about it. We actually asked people to message us or get with us if they'd like to come on, thinking that wasn't going to do anything. And that's how we got the UK guy and other people. They messaged us and was like, hey, I'd love to come on and talk about blah, 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 which kind of blew us away because we're like, oh shit, somebody's listening.
Cool.
And then
Yeah, that's awesome.
I had somebody come up to me at a basketball game and say, hey, I listen to you every Saturday morning. That blew me away because I was like, what? Like, really?
Yeah, it's a trip whenever people you don't know you. I used to play in bands and stuff like that, and I was in a band called Brains for Beautiful back in the day, and I had a guy randomly come up to me in the Johnson City Mall one day. No clue who this guy was. He was probably late 20s, early 30s when I was early 20s, and he came up, he's like, "Hey, you're Brandon from Brains for Beautiful, ain't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, what's up, man?" He's like, "I just wanted to let you know that I've got your sticker on my gun case."
He's like, yeah, that's awesome.
I was like, "That's fucking cool, man. Thanks."
Yeah,
But it
we ain't even got there yet. We don't even have any stickers or
no,
nothing
we
yet.
don't either, man. It's whatever, but um we're thinking about maybe doing a t-shirt or something like that soon, but
We are
it's
too. I mean, we're gonna
it's
do the
no
giveaway
rush.
like during that the NCAA tournament, which we had a quite a big
I saw that.
following. Yeah, and we're gonna give away like something like that, like a hat, shirt, stickers, something cool. And let and if I win or Jimmy wins, of course, we're not gonna be like up to tough. Nobody won.
Right.
Uh, but we're gonna figure something out for that. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that many people even joined the NCAA tournament bracket we did. Like I said, all that's just showing that what we're doing ain't a complete waste of time.
No, I mean, I think you and Jimmy both have a good network of friends, a good you know, base of people that are interested in what you're doing, and that's great.
Yeah, we're getting better. I know at first Jimmy was a little shy, a little quiet.
It happens, man. Like, go back and listen to episode like 1 through 12 of our podcast, and Zach and I are both just like, so I guess we're podcasting. Yep.
Dude, I've never done that. I'll have to do that. I'll have to go back and listen to the first.
Oh man, you're in for a pretty painful listen. I think fortunately it's only about 30 minutes long because we were like, I don't even know if this is going to work, so let's just try it.
That's what we did too. I think I came in on episode 6.
Of us, yeah,
Yeah,
something like that because we
5.
started in August, right around the start of football season, so
Yeah, I came
makes
on
sense.
and I got hooked. Y'all didn't need me no more, and I was like, "What am I gonna do?" I had to do something.
Yeah, how many episodes are you guys up to in now?
This week will be episode 10.
10. So you're finally double digits,
Yeah,
and this is episode 33 for us. So we're moving right along. The best thing is neither one of us have missed a week since we started. That's the most important thing that I keep seeing everywhere is just stay consistent.
yeah, and it's hard, man.
It is, because we have lives. You were talking about your kids. I've got 2 kids and a wife. we have jobs that we have to do. We don't get paid to do all this, so we also have to go and work a full-time job to supplement our lives. So
Unfortunately, I'm hoping that one day, maybe 10, 15 years down the road, I can retire and this could supplement my income,
wouldn't that be
whether
awesome?
whether it be just like, $500 a month or something small.
I wouldn't even be mad if I had a different show that I was on, 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Like I would love to do that, if I that's all I had to do. If
Yeah.
if I if
Oh,
I
yeah.
was at home all day every day, it's like, sure, I'll get on at noon and do a podcast with Justin, and then I'll get on at 4 and do a podcast with Zach, and then I'll get on at 7 and do a podcast with Wallow, and then boom, like I'm making $200 an hour basically, or whatever it is. This is my dreamland, I guess. But
Yeah, that'd be sweet, man. You could do it every day. I mean, you could post something every day like Rogan.
yeah, like if that's all I had to do, I would absolutely do that. I would get on here and talk for hours every single day if I was getting hundreds of dollars per episode.
You got to think you could talk, then edit, and then it'd still only be like 4 hours in a day, and then you're doing something you love.
See, that's the absolute beauty again of how we're doing it now is as soon as I click the stop button, it's done. I don't have to edit. I don't have to do anything. I just have to upload it onto our RSS.
Yeah, I'm jealous of that because I've got to still edit my whole thing, and we have a basketball tournament in Marion, Virginia tomorrow, so
Mm.
I've got a long night ahead of me.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm out of shit to talking about. We've just been sitting here shooting the shit for the last 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, man, it's good to be back, though. I appreciate y'all. I know we didn't talk much NCAA. I think the real meat
Will
of
be
the
next week or
tournament,
whatever.
yeah, will be after this first weekend when we see who the Sweet 16 is, and then that's going to be where you start trying to figure shit out.
Sure. And, you're welcome to come back and we'll hash out some more stuff once we kind of know what direction the tournament's going in. Hopefully Tennessee's still there and we can keep rooting them on.
I hope so. I'm glad that Iowa beat Cincinnati. I was more scared of Cincinnati
I was too, man.
because of
I
their
was too.
size.
I was too. Cincinnati always is one of those teams that, they're always good. They've had a few great teams, a couple years back, but they're always good.
Yep. And I'm glad that, but then again, I don't know. Iowa beat the shit out of
Yeah,
Cincinnati.
they sure
So
did.
now I'm kind of like, well, was I
Careful
rooting
what
for
you
the
ask
wrong
for.
team? Yeah. Well, let's see. I mean, I hope Murray State continues to, make a splash. I'd like to see a big upset tonight. I know there's a few chances going on. Like I said, I'm waiting on that Cinderella team to kind of step out.
It might be Murray State that's the Cinderella this year.
They're, I mean, they beat, it wasn't even close. They
No,
beat
it
the
wasn't.
shit out of Marquette. And I hope it is. And it's ironic that Morant was the first guard to get a triple double in NCAA tournament since Dwayne Wade, who played for Marquette, and he did it against Marquette.
Isn't it funny how sports always have like those little synchronicities and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I found
You-
that awesome. And then Dwayne Wade tweeted to him, which was cool. So he recognized it.
Man, speaking of Dwayne Wade, and this is the last thing I got, I promise. I just saw a video before we all came online where D Wade, he's been going on his little end of career tour and giving up jerseys to everybody and stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, I guess they were playing in Sacramento, and he ended up giving the jersey to White Chocolate instead of any of the active players.
He's probably better than any of the active players.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, man, how bad is it whenever like you go to a team and the best player is somebody that retired years ago?
That's awesome. White Chocolate give him what, like a popcorn?
No, he gave him a jersey. It was a jersey too, but it's like, okay, well, Wade's was game worn, yours was bought off a rack. Oh well.
That's gotta make the whole team feel like shit. Like none of us could get the jersey.
Right. Oh well. D Wade, classic. Anyway, thanks for coming on, Justin. Guys, go check out Into the Woods podcast. They drop new episodes every Saturday morning, and it's a good listen. Him and Jimmy, they get into all kinds of stuff, as you've just heard.
Yeah,
So,
man, it's never the same. It's always different. Sometimes we get sidetracked, but I think that's what makes our podcast a little different. We'll start talking about basketball, and then we end up talking about food, and we
You
never
guys do
know.
talk about food a lot, I've noticed.
Yeah, he seems to always be hungry when he comes in, and I told him he don't eat because he's too healthy.
Yeah, that's well, and he's so fucking active. It's like, oh yeah, well, yesterday I went on a 26-mile I call them humps, but he calls them rucks. I went on a 26-mile ruck and then I ran 62 miles back home and then I swam across the river.
Yeah, he does, man. That's what makes us different. He's more of that kind of guy, and I'm more of
Mhm.
the sports kind of guy.
Yeah,
And
he tries to be the best at exercising. You like real sports.
yeah, we're gonna have to do all four of us. Maybe do like a swap cast.
Yeah, I'm down. We do those sometimes with locker room talk, and they invited me on their show not too long ago, but I couldn't do it. I had plans that day, and hopefully we can do something with them again soon as well.
Shit, let's get us all three on. We'll just have like a big ass party.
We'll have a podcast threesome.
Yeah, we can do it, man.
All right, man. I'm gonna get out of here. I'll let you go too. Thanks for coming on, buddy.
All right, brother. See you, man.
See you guys.